On this week's program, we talk with Kansas Corn's Josh Rowe about a program out from USDA for higher blends of ethanol and biodiesel. We also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission and Kansas Department of Agriculture, and our weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and some market information from Paragon Ag Advisors. I'm Ken Rogers. This is Authentic Ag. Brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on three main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
In agricultural news from agview.net, the Environmental Protection Agency says farmers and applicators who possessed one of 3 dicamba herbicides on June 3rd can still use those products. Farmers may use those herbicides following label instructions and other state regulations through July 31st, 2020. Now, that guidance follows a court decision that vacated the registrations for Bayer's XtendiMax, BASF's Ingenia, and Corteva's Flexipan. June 3rd, 2020 is the effective date of the court ruling. Now, that ruling does not include Syngenta's Tavium. The distribution or sale of the 3 herbicides is prohibited except for ensuring proper disposal or return to the registrant. Now, while the guidance from EPA allows farmers to utilize dicamba on crops already planted this year, the future for dicamba is now uncertain. EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler said the action threatened the livelihood of our nation's farmers and that the global food supply as well. Companies like Bayer are currently working with EPA for the registration of products for the 21 and beyond seasons. USDA says the U.S. meatpacking facilities are now operating at more than 95% of average capacity when compared to 2019. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue applauding the data, attributing the operations to the safe reopening of the facilities. USDA says beef facilities operating at 98%, pork facilities about 95%, poultry facilities operating at 98% of their capacity compared to the same time a year ago. Secretary Perdue thanked the industry and its workers for quickly getting their operations back up and running. USDA said the facilities are safely resuming operations following an executive order by President Trump to implement safety guidelines to protect workers from COVID-19. The closures led to shortages at some grocery stores and a backlog of animals ready for slaughter, creating depressed prices for farmers, yet higher prices for consumers. USDA says that it will continue to work with safety officials to keep the facilities open while maintaining worker safety. And USDA announcing changes to the Livestock Risk Protection Insurance Program for feeder cattle, fed cattle, and swine. It'll start this summer. USDA's Risk Management Agency says changes include moving premium due dates to the end of the endorsement period and increasing premium subsidies to assist producers. RMA Administrator Martin Barbary said the changes will make the policies more usable and affordable for livestock producers. Specifically, he says the changes allow premiums to be paid at the end of the endorsement period, putting it in line with other policies. You can find more information on these and other stories online, agview.net. Stay with us. We'll have more in just a moment.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow Research Program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families in rural Kansas for more than 100 years, and we're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau health plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
And joining us now is Josh Rowe, who is Vice President of Policy for Kansas Corn. Josh, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be here today, Ken.
Well, one of the things we want to talk about is with now summer driving season underway, more people are going to hit the road. We keep hearing reports that kind of that pinned up energy is going to be released, and people are going to travel, I guess, where they can. And with that, it's going to bring opportunity for some higher blended fuels. The ethanol market will continue to grow once again. And with that, there's a special program coming from the feds, HBP. And I want you to talk about that, as that will help retailers give consumers more opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. The Higher Blends Infrastructure Incentive Program, or HBIP, it's a USDA program, and it was actually designed, announced prior to all of the great demand disruptions we saw to the liquid fuels market through COVID-19. But just with the timing of, all programs and that had happened, the announcement came kind of right here at the tail end of the pandemic. But what it is, it's $100 million set aside, $86 million for ethanol, $14 million for biodiesel. And on the ethanol side, it's designed to provide cost share for fuel retailers and distributors as well, to offer blends of ethanol of E15 and above. And it's a little different. Back in 2016, USDA did another infrastructure program, and that was doled out through the states to handle. And this one is specific general retailers are encouraged to apply for the funds.
So, Josh, as we hit the statewide audience, communities of all different sizes. So, how is the way for maybe retailers contact you also, and then consumers say you have a community that doesn't have all those offerings? You know, everybody has E10, maybe E15 now, but is it to work through you all to maybe make those connections? Is that how that can get started?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, an individual retailer could go through the motions on their own, but probably a good reason to contact myself or someone on my team with Kansas Corn is that the USDA program, it's limited to providing up to 50% cost share basis. Well, the Kansas Corn Commission, and as well as some investments by Renew Kansas, the State Ethanol Association, and Kansas grain sorghum producers, we have offered to kind of sweeten the pot a bit and to offer additional cost share above USDA. And so we're offering up to $50,000 per station per individual station in additional cost share, or to cover up to 90% of the cost, whatever one of those kind of marks you hit first there. So we would there. And in addition to that, USDA they've tried really hard to make this a straightforward program, but this is a government grant program, and with that comes quite a bit of red tape, a lot of different qualifications, and we have some experts on our staff that with a lot of grant writing expertise. So we really will make this a turnkey operation, assist you in, filling out the grant, going through the contracts, and that, since we've had quite a bit of experience with this program, and then we know who the best experts and the consultants are for the area since we've been doing this since 2016. We've put in over 100 pumps, 200 fueling dispensers just on our own through our relatively small program. So we have quite a bit of in-house expertise with this, or know the people that have the expertise as well.
Josh Rowe with Kansas Corn is joining us. Let's take a break. We'll come back and have more in just a moment.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
And our guest this week, Josh Rowe with the Kansas Corn, and we're talking about the HBP program. And so, Josh, give us some statistics, say stations that have participated. What does that mean, not only for them, but also the impact it could have on Kansas ag producers?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the stations that have participated in our program since 2016, kind of the top half performers, they've experienced sales growth rates, consistently double-digit sales growth rates in fuel. Some of them as high as achieving 7% monthly increases in fuel sales. So it's been really good for their bottom line. And we look at nationwide through the Prime the Pump program that has provided cost share at 10,000 stations. The stat from 2019 is the average Prime the Pump station outperformed the average fuel, one of their peers by 250%. So great incentives for increased sales for the stations, and it means a lot to our corn and grain sorghum farmers through there. You look kind of what a typical mom and pop type independent station offering higher blends, that'll consume about 62,000 bushels of corn or grain sorghum at that one station in a year. And then when we get to those really larger fuel stations, our truck stops, high volume through there, one of those stations that'll sell about 2.6 million gallons of ethanol a year, that will consume over 850,000 bushels of corn or grain sorghum. So quite the incentive on both ends to offer this product.
And again, Josh, if folks want to know more about this program, some of the incentives that Kansas Corn and other folks are providing, how's the best way to do that?
Yeah, obviously our website's always good at kscorn.com, or just call our main line at 785-410-5009. Say you're interested in this program, and we'll be happy to have an in-depth, detailed conversation with you.
Well, Josh, it's always great to talk demand for homegrown fuels, biofuels, and ethanol. And so thanks for giving us an update.
Absolutely.
Josh Rowe, who is Vice President of Policy for Kansas Corn, has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more in just a moment.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow Research Program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Weather events during the growing season can significantly impact your crop. If you're a farmer, you watch the weather diligently. But have you been paying attention to the climate or how it is evolving? Since changes in climate are much more gradual, it's not always so easy to pinpoint or track. As the climate changes, the weather patterns we've become familiar with, pest and disease patterns are changing as well. Some soybean diseases once contained to a specific region of the U.S. have spread and become a challenge in new regions, for example. Researchers are also pointing to increased nighttime temperatures, higher humidity, and overall changes in precipitation year over year as results of a changing climate. Agricultural practices, then, must evolve to keep up. It could mean taking extra steps to decrease erosion from precipitation, or it could mean changing management practices to combat resistance, like varying seed treatments or varieties to get ahead of pest problems. Take Action, a stewardship initiative from the Soy Checkoff, suggests that, regardless of your climate, scouting is a critical practice for combating pests. When you discover a pest in your field, keep an eye on the problem and wait until that pest reaches an economic threshold for applications, and that can vary for each farm and field. Adjusting farm operations to meet changing conditions head-on is nothing new for farmers, but a little extra guidance is always helpful. Take Action has resources, including Kansas-specific documents, to help farmers adapt to changing climates and reduce the chance of pest resistance. You can visit iwilltakeaction.com or download the Take Action mobile app to explore this information and more.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
the last 5 years, all of us at the Kansas Department of Agriculture have spent our summers looking forward to the Summit on Agricultural Growth, a time when we have traditionally brought all of the industry sectors together in one place with one goal: growing Kansas agriculture. Unfortunately, this year, after careful consideration and regard for the health and safety of everyone in our industry, the Kansas Department of Agriculture has made the difficult decision to move the 2020 Ag Growth Summit from an in-person event to a virtual experience. We are disappointed that we're unable to hold this event in person, but we are excited about the possibilities of what a virtual summit could entail. The Ag Growth Summit has become a highlight of the year for agriculture leaders from across the state, as a day full of networking, collaboration, and conversation with farmers, ranchers, agribusiness owners, and industry professionals from throughout all corners of Kansas agriculture. We plan to preserve some of these elements, including interactive sessions designed to promote action and engagement among the Kansas agriculture community. This year, with the virtual summit, those breakout sessions will take place over a period of several weeks leading up to the summit, using internet meeting services. The sessions will be recorded so that others can watch even if they're not able to participate. But keep Thursday, August 20th on your calendar. That will still be the date of the virtual Ag Growth Summit that will include an opportunity to share some of the results from those sector breakout sessions, as well as hear updates on current issues and critical topics that affect all of Kansas agriculture. Details for this year's Ag Growth Summit are posted on the KDA website at agriculture.ks.gov/summit. Whether in person or online, KDA remains committed to our purpose to serve, promote, and grow the state's largest industry. Please watch for details so you can join us this year in our virtual Kansas Ag Growth Summit.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
KLA Chief Executive Officer Matt Teagarden sent a letter last week to U.S. Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue urging USDA to address the deficiency in the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. The letter highlighted that prior to passage of the CARES Act, KLA and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association had worked to ensure the legislation would provide maximum flexibility in meeting the needs of producers without creating a program based on actual marketings, which had the potential to set arbitrary timelines and skew marketing decisions. The concept initially presented to USDA by the associations was simply to have all producers certify inventory on which a one-time payment would be issued based on losses that had been estimated by a team of livestock economists. Instead, and to the significant disappointment of KLA, the agency ignored this concept and decided to base most of the livestock relief on actual sales and chose a time frame that created severe disparity among recipients. To help remedy the aforementioned issues, KLA recommended in the letter that USDA increase the $33 CFAP inventory payment to mirror the estimated market damages referenced in the study, as this would pose the least amount of market disruption and would not require producers to fill out an additional application. The letter also addressed some of the outstanding issues involving eligibility of cattle under CFAP, specifically those sold using grid formula contracts and basis contracts. To read the letter in its entirety, go to the Coronavirus Response page on KLA.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families and rural Kansas for more than 100 years, and we're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau health plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Good morning. Zach Gotot here with Paragon Ag and Keiko Isom. Well, as another week clicks off the calendar, the ag markets seem to be hitting the pause button, waiting for a fresh headline to make its next move. What's been interesting in the grain space lately has been rice. In the last month, we watched the July contract run $8 up, We went from $15 a hundredweight around the first part of May to a high of $23 the 5th of June. I'll put that into perspective. Over the last 5 years, $13 is the high end of the range, and we spent a lot of time below that. So over the course of a month, we saw rice trade into unheard of territory. In the first week of June, we saw rice limit up after a limit up day until Friday, when we punched in our high of $23.56. What's going on with rice, you might ask? Sure, there is some planting issues. Looks like there's going to be a fair amount of prevent plant taken in rice country. But this move was only on the front month. The deferreds really don't have the same magnitude of a move. So the market's not telling us that there's really a supply issue for new crop. Sure, there is some demand with grocery shelves being emptied during Corona, but wouldn't you have thought that this move should have happened 2 months ago? We can debate back and forth about what caused this and why and this, that, and the other, but it's just another instance of where the fundamentals will roll you. What has the rice market done since it reached its high the last Friday? Well, on the same day it punched into the uncharted territory to the green, we closed that day limit down, and every day since then has been a limit down move, bringing rice back to reality. I know there's probably not a lot of rice farmers watching this, and you're wondering, how does this pertain to you? Well, if we backtrack to the first half of April before, the rice market really didn't have anything in it to forecast this move. It was about as sideways as all get out. There really wasn't a big story to show what was about to come. The news right now for the rest of the grains is pretty dismal. However, we are getting into summer weather and a typical volatile time frame. And if the circus comes to town, you might as well get your peanuts, meaning if we see a rally with no real fundamental reason behind it, you've got to take advantage of that opportunity because it may not last too long. And you've got to be able to do enough that it matters. Better to build the ark before it starts raining. If you have questions on these markets or any markets, give us a call here at Paragon Ag at 888-452-8751. I'm Zach Gotot. Have a great day.
Well, that's our show this week. If you have questions, concerns, or suggestions, email me, Ken Rogers at ken@agview.net. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Authentic Ag.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.